Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Waiver Wire Pickup on Kings of Fantasy Football. I'm your co-host Pablo, and here's my co-host.
Leo.
So, as I mentioned, we're going to be discussing players that we think that you should target on waivers for the upcoming Week 8 of fantasy football. I feel like this season is just flying by. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in. So we're going to start with quarterbacks. The first quarterback that I would go after is going to be James Winston. The Browns, so Deshaun Watson suffered season-ending surgery. I do know that they played Dorian once Deshaun went down, but I do think that Winston's going to be the starting quarterback. And this is more for, probably two QB leagues. I would assume a lot of you in one QB leagues have a better backup, but again, it's more for two QB leagues because we know how important they are. So again, that was James Winston of the Browns. What about you, Leo?
So the first guy I'm actually gonna go with is Mr. Tua Tagovailoa. He's coming back from he looks like he's leaning towards coming back off IR this week, and he's been dropped in plenty of leagues, and he should be available. The Dolphins' offense has been a joke, probably the joke of the year without him, and now that he comes back, it'll hopefully make everyone better. Tyreek, Waddle, Chain. It should open things up again, and he should be definitely someone to look at for sure.
Yeah, 47% rostered.
And he's
So
47% roster, so he should be available.
if he was available on any of mine, I would, but they actually held on to him. So I like that pickup.
Yeah.
Now, the next quarterback, and again, this is more for two QB leagues, is going to be Russell Wilson of the Steelers. His first game as a starter, he did really well. Three all-purpose touchdowns, about 30 fantasy points. He's rostered in 15% of leagues. So if he is going to be the starter, um, then I think he's definitely worth a pickup. I know especially Pickens owners were happy. So that's my second QB. What about yours?
Wilson. Yeah, for sure. He was my next come on up too, but no worries. So yeah, it's gonna be a guy that we've been saying to pick up for the last like couple of weeks, which is Drake May. He had another nice performance that he threw for 276 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Rushed it, three times he didn't get as many yards rushing, but that he does have that in his game. So he's 25% rostered. So and your if your quarterback isn't performing, or you need help, these are a few guys definitely to pick up.
Yeah, I know. After what two more season-ending injuries this past weekend, QBs, haven't got that injury bug. Well, besides Watson, but they're very important to have, especially in two QB leagues. So, like you said, more in a deeper league. So, moving on to running backs. Now, on that same subject, of injuries, the running back that I would target is more of an insurance policy, and that's going to be Mostert. The Dolphins, now that Tua is coming back, never know um, what might happen. So I would just pick them up more for insurance, but also, if Tua revitalizes that offense, he still ended up with 11 carries last week. That was without Tua, so who knows? He might be more of a flex play moving forward. So that was Mostert of the Dolphins, and he's 76% available. Who's your first running back?
My first running back to pick up is Ray Davis from the Buffalo Bills. He's currently 28% rostered. Um, uh, Last week when James Cook was out, he blew up for 20. He had 20 rushes for 97 yards and three receptions for 55 yards. Now that Cook came back, um, he didn't have obviously as much touches as before, but like with all these injuries that are happening, he still had five receptions, had 41 yards, and did find the end zone this week. So, which is the second touchdown of the year. So definitely someone to as an insurance party, like you say, this is the time to start. I know the buys are coming, but you need to have some depth um, on your team for when injuries happen, and definitely someone to pick up for sure. Ray Davis.
Davis of the Bills. Okay. Really like that. Especially with the addition of Amari Cooper. Shut up. All right, the next running back that I would target um, is going to be someone that he hasn't played yet, but um, he's from the little glimpse that I've seen, he's looking that he is trying to go after that starting job in Carolina. It's Jonathan Brooks, 71% rostered. So for those of you that might be having a good record and you're trying to solidify your roster for the upcoming playoffs, I do think that Brooks is someone, especially if you have depth at running back, someone that you can add. And who knows, he might end up taking over that starting role in Carolina. So again, Jonathan Brooks from Carolina, 71% rostered. Who's your next running back?
My next running back to pick up, he's more than likely already picked up, but he's still someone to get it, which is Tank Bixby. He's Etienne went out, and with him out, Bixby went off for 118 yards rushing and a couple of touchdowns. Etienne hasn't looked himself this year, and definitely if you have the chance to pick him up, I would if he's still available.
Yeah, I think Bigsby is definitely going to take over that starting role. I mean, he was showing flashes even when he started. So
Yeah,
definitely like that pickup. I'm sure people that have had him before he became a starting running back's definitely happy after his performance last week. So moving on to receivers, if you're one of the people that lost Ayuk and or Godwin this week, I was one of them with Godwin. The first receiver I'm going to go after is from that same team, which is going to be Jalen McMillan. I know you've talked about him a few times so far this year, but if Evans is out as well, I think McMillan's going to.
He's excited about your picks, man. The dog's really pumped for the picks this week.
But yeah, it's Jalen McMillan of the Tampa Bay Bucks. He's rostering 8% of leagues. So again, now that Godwin's going to be out, and if Mike Evans misses time, then I think McMillan's going to do really well. Who's your first receiver?
Yeah, thanks for taking my guy again. Appreciate it. So I'm gonna go with Juwan Jennings. He was obviously a high pickup earlier this season, but now with Brandon Ayuk out for the year, Debo is uh not doing well health wise as well. Um, Jennings could be in line for plenty of touches. He's someone that, like I said earlier this season, when he had the opportunity, he made things happen. So he was they were funneling the looks his way Purdy was, and and he's only 30%, 37% rostered. So if they did drop him, which like I said, looks like they most people did, with the return of Ayuk and Debo and everyone, uh, he got sent to the waiver wire, and he's definitely someone to pick up with Ayuk out for the year.
So you took my guy, or I took your guy, and now you took my guy with
Hey,
Jennings. So it all works out.
yes.
Um, the next guy that I would target is going to be Romeo Dobbs of the Packers. 63% of leagues. He had 10 targets, and he had 8 receptions. Looks like that offense in Green Bay is just going to continue to get better every week. So definitely someone to have on your roster. I don't know if he's going to be like an every week starter because Love likes to spread the ball around, but still think it's someone to have as he's the wide receiver 2 on the team. Who's
All
the
right.
next guy?
All right. My next guy is he's a little bit over he's like 66% rostered. Um, but he's still someone that should be might be available, which is Demario Douglas. He missed the game this past week because of an illness, and you know even they probably could have used him. They probably could have done well, but he's someone that you should think about getting. Another receiver to contemplate is picking up is Dontavian Wicks. You know, I know Romeo Dobbs. He had a nice game this past week, but so did Wicks. He had a like 3 receptions of 48 yards and a touchdown, and I think that he's one of the guys that's gonna be targeted there. Watson, I thought he was gonna do well, but he fell through, so that's the way it is. And another third guy to think about getting is with the talk about Cooper Cup being traded away is Jordan Whittington. He's when he was out earlier when Cup's been out this year, Whittington had some nice games. So if he's gone permanently, that's someone to look at. He's only 32.6% roster.
Yeah, I made the error of getting him thinking, because Cup is still out, that he would get a lot of targets this past week, but that didn't happen. But I do agree with the long-term pickup, especially if Cup is traded. Now, moving on to tight ends. Um, the tight end that I would go after, assuming that he is available, now that Godwin is going to be out, there's going to be some targets that are going to be available, and then it's going to be K. Dotton of the Bucks. He had 10 targets, 8 receptions, 100 yards yesterday. So I think moving forward, he's going to be a lot more involved in that offense with losing Godwin, and then if Mike Evans is out, then he's gonna even do better um, as a waiver wire pickup. So definitely go after Kate on 43% rostered. The Bucks. Who's your first tight end?
My first one to get is being that Demario was out this past week, Hunter Henry, decided to show up again. He was targeted nine times, and he brought in 8 receptions for 92 yards, which is like phenomenal. What you can ask for a tight end this season. So it looks like he's building some rapport with Drake May. So someone definitely to look at if he's there. He's 29% rostered, so uh, more than likely he should be available in most leagues.
Yep. Hunter Henry. I feel like um, him and the tight end from the Jets should just stay on people's rosters because
Conklin.
feels like Conklin, yeah, Tyler Conklin, him and Henry should just stay on a roster
Yeah.
because it seems like every other week they're having good games. My next tight end is going to be um, Cole Kmet, 74% rostered. He's had 9 targets these last 2 weeks. He had the huge game last week. Don't know if he's going to be replicating 2 touchdowns every week, but if he's continuing to get targets, which he's had plenty so far this year, I think that he can do well moving forward. And we've talked about the tight end position a lot, so we know how slim that is. That's my next guy. I'm just Komet. The Bears, 74% rostered. Who's your next tight end?
My next tight end is gonna be Noah Fant, with the Seattle Seahawks. Um, DK Metcalf got injured this past week, so we don't know how long he might be out for. Last couple of weeks, Noah Fant's been targeted about 10 times, 6 last week, four this past week, and he actually ended up with 65 yards. So he's had actually double-digit fantasy points uh, over the last 2 weeks. The couple weeks ago he had 15.30, and then this week he had 12. So he's someone definitely to look at in deeper leagues or in general because, like I said, tight end has been rough this year. So it looks like they are starting to target him more over the last couple of weeks.
Right. Definitely like that pick. All right, now moving on to defenses. Um, so the first defense that I would target is going to be um, the Houston Texans. They have a good matchup going against the Colts at home. Even though they were playing Green Bay last week with a high-powered offense, they still managed to get some turnovers, which helped them get 11 points last week. So um, I do think that the way that defense has been playing, and D'Amico Ryan's more of a defensive-minded head coach. I think they're going to look to bounce back at home against the Colts. So that's the Texans, and they're at 35% rostered. Who's your first defense?
Yeah, my first defense is gonna be actually the Kansas City Chiefs. They're 62% rostered. They've next week, well, this week they're gonna play the Raiders, which have allowed the second most fantasy points to opposing defenses. And your boy Minshew's back, and Minshew loves to throw those turnovers. So there's someone to look at if you need a defense this week.
Okay. Yeah, looks like that defense has helped the Chiefs stay undefeated. Hmm. So I like that pick. My next defense that I would go after is the Eagles. Um, they currently are 69% rostered, and they had a really, really great game against the Giants. I know they're playing Joe Burrow in that offense, but um, the Browns were giving them a bit of trouble up until the end of that game. Um, but this is more, streaming option, but definitely I would take them as the waiver wire pickup, assuming that they are available. And who's your next defense?
My next defense to pick up is gonna actually be the Detroit Lions. They're facing the Tennessee Titans that are actually allowing the most fantasy points to opposing defenses. A couple of weeks ago, the Lions put a whooping to the Cowboys that they scored 18 fantasy points. And this week, and this past week they played Minnesota. Minnesota, they didn't score as much, and obviously Minnesota's they have a good offense, but they still were able to score about 6 points. But this week, they play the Titans um at home, and so they're gonna be ready to make a Mason Rudolph wish he was still benched this week.
Yeah, who would have thought that that team would still be doing really well after losing Aiden Hutchinson, but it looks like they're just still firing on all cylinders. So that's pretty much everyone I had. I know you like to have a little bit of extras. Do you have any extras you want to mention or honorable mentions before we wrap
Um,
things up?
yeah. Well, another tight end to maybe pick up is in deeper league formats is Will Disley. He's a tight end for the Chiefs. This past week, 2 weeks ago against Denver, he had five targets and he turned to 4 receptions into 26. But this past week, he was actually targeted 11 times. Brought in 8 receptions for 81 receptions. So someone to look at in deeper leagues. There's been a lot of receivers that have you know that have been injured, and you know Ricky Parasol is coming back, so he's another uh, deep wide receiver to look at there. Maybe they're saying that he might be the one that takes over the role of Ayuk instead of Jennings. So that's another one to take a look at in deeper leagues. He is a first round draft pick this year from the 49ers, and he had his first game last week just to get his feet wet, and now he's gonna be thrust more into game action than he thought, faster than he thought.
Yeah, definitely think monitoring those teams. So like if Kittle doesn't play, Devo doesn't play since they're hurt, Personal might get all of the targets. So um, really like that.
Yeah, and one last guy to look at is Jalen Warren. He's coming along. He's 42% rostered, and he's starting to get more involved in the Steelers offense with now the Russell Wilson there. We all I thought Fields was good, but hey, Wilson came in and did probably made the offense look a little bit better. So and you know Warren came in and wasn't more involved too. So it's just another guy to look at there.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Hope these uh, players to target really help you. If you have any questions, you can reach me on X, and that is at Archreaper, ARCHREAPR. Our podcast is available on all major platforms: Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Follow us on either of those platforms, all the platforms. Greatly appreciate it. Where can they reach you, Leo?
Yeah, if you guys have any fantasy questions, I'll be more than happy to help. You can reach me on X at smooth1074. Thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, give us a follow, subscribe, tell a friend, leave us a comment. Really appreciate it. It gets us noticed. Uh, you know, we're always looking to help out as many fantasy managers as we can.
Thanks, everyone.
Peace.